Okay, welcome to Outdoor School. Today we're going to be talking about nature journaling. And I'm Chickpea, and Onion is also with us, and we're going to be leading you through the lesson today. So first of all, we want to set down some ground agreements. These are things that we're all going to practice during the lesson today, and good to practice whenever. So those spell out choose, which is care for yourself and others. We want to be kind, allow space for others. We want to be honest to ourselves and to represent ourselves the way that we want to show up. We want to go outside when we can. This can be anywhere, even just on a porch or a local park. We want to be open to making mistakes and new ideas. And also practice scientific thinking through observing, asking questions, and being curious, which we're going to practice a lot today. And we want to engage, whether that means virtually or in person. We want to participate in the lesson. So thank you for being with us here today, and we're going to try to practice these ground agreements as we go. It's also important to acknowledge that all outdoor schools are on Indigenous land. Our outdoor schools are based in Oregon, so you may be somewhere else right now, but that's a good opportunity to look up what Indigenous nations may have lived there before you came to be there. It's important to recognize that they were there before we are here now, and they're still here. So I want to recognize that our outdoor schools are on Indigenous land, especially where we teach in the Portland area. So moving into what we do at outdoor school, a little bit of intro. If you have a science kit, you may have a wood cookie with you. It looks like this tree ring on the screen. That's called a wood cookie, and it's just a slice out of a tree. So you can see all of the rings on the inside and the bark on the outside. So when we're at outdoor school in person, everybody wears these as kind of a name tag, and you get to decorate it how you want and put your outdoor school name on it. So if you have a wood cookie, go and decorate your wood cookie, and you can wear it and be part of outdoor school that way. So this would be a very not decorated version yet for Onion and myself. So you can go all out or keep it simple. Just practice, whatever art style you like. So now we're going to get into the science of the nature journal lesson. And science isn't some big scary thing. You've got all of your materials that you need in your science kit. If you don't have a science kit, you may have these materials around your house or apartment, wherever you live. Mainly you need something to write on, and for today you need a piece of paper, or you can use your field study notebook from outdoor school. And it would be really nice to have a magnifying lens or something you can measure with, like a measuring tape or a ruler. So today we're going to use the materials, our field study notebook, our writing utensils, magnifying glass, things to measure with, to make our own nature journal. So we're going to use those materials to help us make scientific observations, which Onion will talk more about in a second here. And then we're going to record that in our journal about a natural object. So what makes someone a good observer? We're going to practice observing today, because what you observe, which means observing is just something that you're taking in. So observing doesn't mean just looking. You can be observing with all of your senses, and that's how we make kind of detailed observations. So that's what we're practicing today. So if you want to be using all of your senses at once, a good observer, what does that look like? What does that mean? We've got some pictures here of different students and people making observations. You can see in the picture in the middle of the screen, all of the students standing wearing the wood cookie. Some of them are looking up, they're holding leaves, maybe they're looking at the sun or looking at the sunlight through the leaves. So they may be observing what it looks like in a different view than you would normally be looking at it. So good observers are curious, they look at things a different way, they use all of their senses, like hearing. You may not want to taste things, but you definitely want to touch and listen, look from far away, and look closely.
Hey everybody, I'm Onion. I am going to be teaching the second half of this lesson, so thank you Tiffany for getting started. So we're going to talk about observation practice, so kind of what Tiffany just went over, and we're going to apply it. So the three tools that we're going to be using are the sentences I noticed, I wonder, it reminds me. And these are going to help us to use our scientific observation skills. So for example, if you are looking at something in your house, say a plant or your dog or whatever it is, you can say something like, oh, I noticed that this puppy has lots of different colored fur. And then you could say, I wonder why dogs have different colored fur. And then it reminds me of, so whatever it reminds you of, this could be anything. It reminds me of the dog I had when I was a puppy. It reminds me of all the different fur that lots of animals can have and how much they differ. So yeah. So what we're going to be doing is identifying any natural object in your house or outside that you can spend some time with. So that can be a rock, that can be the tomato in your fridge, a spider outside, your dog, your cat, a leaf, whatever you want it to be, you can choose. And then you'll have a chance to do that. So here's an example of what a nature journal might look like. So you can see somebody chose a snail. They put some of their observations, some of the things they wondered. So for example, over in the left-hand corner, you can see they wrote that it's slow moving, where they found it, what it smells like, things like that, what they wondered about it, how far can a snail travel in a day, things like that. You can be as creative as you want. And also, I just want to mention that you don't have to be an artist to do this. You can do whatever you want. It can be a very simple drawing. It can also be a very complicated drawing. You can do whatever you want and just have fun with it. Yeah, so here's another example I wanted to share. This, they actually kept the flower that they picked, and so they had the example with them. So that's another idea of what you can do. Here's my nature journal. So I have chickens at home. I chose to study them because I really like my chickens. I noticed a lot about them. I noticed that their feathers are coming off in tufts because they are growing up from being babies to being big girl chickens. So they have a lot of feathers coming out. And it reminds me of playing with my brother's chickens as a child. He had a lot of chickens. He loved them. Oops. And I also noticed that they poop a lot, which is pretty funny. Birds do that. And then they also remind me of foraging animals and their adaptations. And, it makes me think about what they would be like in the wild, because chickens actually come from tropical forests. If you didn't know, that's their natural habitat. So they usually live in forests around a bunch of trees, which is really cool. And then if Chickpea wants to say something about her journal.
So this is my nature journal that I did. So Onion got to look at some awesome animals that were alive, so her chickens. I didn't have any animals that were alive around me. I didn't have any animals around me, so I looked at this piece of bark instead. Um, but looking at it closely, there's still a lot of cool things to notice about it, even though it wasn't moving or flapping like chickens might be. So I noticed there were a lot of different colors. I wondered about what those colors might mean about the bark. Is it different kinds of plants growing on it or different kinds of lichen? I noticed different holes, which made me wonder what was making the holes. So as you observe something, it's helpful if you write, I notice, and then you can kind of list what you notice, I wonder, and then it reminds me of. And mine even reminded me of a Butterfinger candy bar because of all the layers. So it can remind you of whatever. It's just cool to make those connections between, more normal things and then more sciencey things or things outside that we may not be as familiar with. Thanks, Onion. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chickpea. That's a really good point. Your observations don't have to be um, quote unquote scientific. Um, they can just be things it reminds you of. It's about having fun with it and just using all of your senses, except maybe not tasting the things that you're studying, unless it's like an apple. So if you all want to take a second to before you get started on your actual nature journal, I want to give you all a chance to just practice explaining your observations. So for example, the dog example I was talking about earlier, you could say, I noticed that this puppy has lots of different colored fur. And then you can say, I think maybe blank, I think maybe this puppy has lots of different colored fur because of this blank. So because I could say because it helps them camouflage maybe back when they weren't house pets, maybe for different areas, depending what color their fur is, it helps them to hide. So basically we're just practicing having observations and then thinking about why this object or this plant or this animal is the way that it is. And it doesn't have to be correct. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Scientists, a lot of science is just guessing and observing and working over something and really studying it. So just practice those skills and don't worry about anything else, whether it sounds smart or whether it makes sense, because all science starts out as just a hypothesis, as just something that people think. So yeah. And then, so here's a quick overview of what we're going to be doing with this lesson. Find any natural object in your house or outside that you can spend time with. Use your senses to observe using I notice, I wonder, and it reminds me of. And make sure to write it down. You can do it on a piece of paper or in your journal. You can color it, leave it black and white, do whatever you want. And yeah, that is your lesson for today. I hope that everybody has fun with this and really gets creative and explores, all the things that are just around your house or outside, because there's a lot of cool things to look at if you just take the time to. So yeah, anything to add, Chickpea?
I think that is a great conclusion to our lesson. So, yeah, I would just say have fun looking closely at something, use a magnifying glass if you have one, and just really get into it. So, thanks for being with us here at Outdoor School Anywhere today, and have fun with your nature journal.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.